Again, thanks to everyone for joining us today as we introduce to you the PHNX Development non-combustible home concept. We'll have live Q&A closer to the end, but in the meantime, please feel free to enter any of your questions into chat. And with that, I'd like to introduce to Lori Fisher, founder and CEO of PHNX Development, who'll be leading the presentation today.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Sorry for the delay. We're kind of operating on a skeleton crew today. We've got a lot of irons in the fire, as you can imagine. So, however, we do have two people on our team that weren't here for the first one. So, so you guys get an extra special treat. So, Michelle, if you could go ahead and advance. First, I think, so today really, the goal is to give you guys an overview of what it is we do and how we do it, who we are, what it is we do and how we do it, but mostly to open it up to your questions. And so, that's, I think, going to be the most valuable for all of you because in the years that I've been doing this, fire survivors all kind of have the same question. I mean, very, very similar questions. I mean, of course, everybody is different, but for the most part, I think you all will really benefit from hearing everyone else's questions. And by the way, we're recording this and it will be up on our website and on our YouTube channel. So if you have friends that weren't able to make it today, we're kind of trying out these two different times. So also that's a really good thing to know. So feel free to let us know. The first one that we had 2 weeks ago, I think we had it at 4:30 in the afternoon, so towards the end of the day. This one obviously is at lunchtime. So we'd like to hear from you as to what you think as far as availability goes. Things, we're just trying out the two events. So anyways, let's get started with introductions. And here's our core team. And so obviously, Michelle introduced me. I'm CEO and founder of PHNX Development. I'm an architect. I've been a practicing architect in California for over 25 years. And I've always been very involved in construction as well. And I started working with fire survivors in Santa Rosa after the Tubbs fire in 2018 and seeing the difficulties and the challenges that they had to go through after experiencing the worst event in their lives just broke my heart, and it made me determined to find a solution. And that's what PHNX is. Sarah Rogers, who can't be here with us today, she's someone that you probably had some exchanges with. If not, you will. She's our Chief Operations Officer, and in charge of communications. And so she's kind of holding down the fort while I actually try to get work done. Kendra Kettlehut is our senior designer, and she is here with us today, and she'll be able to jump in a little bit in a moment to talk a little more about the actual design process and what that looks like. And so she'll be heading that up for all of our PHNX Home clients. She's also a licensed interior designer, and she can talk more about her experience and her background when we hear from her. Adam Jill is our rock star permit coordinator. So he is actually a certified building official, which is really cool. And he's actually already plan checked and approved a PHNX home. So he knows inside and out what we're doing. He is a building official and a plan checker. So when he heads up our permitting processes, He knows exactly what to say. He knows who to talk to. He knows the language that everyone speaks. And he's also going to be plan checking all of our plans before we submit. So we're going to get through plan check faster than anyone else. And Adam couldn't be here today, but you'll be hearing from him at some point. And Andre Noel Chiara is our construction supervisor. He has over 25 years of experience working in the United States and Canada. And he's a perfectionist par excellence. And so he not only is going to be supervising our construction projects, but also a quality control person who will be coming by and making sure that everything is up to Phoenix standards. And then, of course, we have Carla Arana, who is the most recent addition to our team, and she's here today too. Carla, if you can show your pretty face. Hello. So Carla is our client care director. And, those of you that sign up with us, maybe even a little bit before, you will be interacting with Carla. And so her job is going to be to follow you from onboarding all the way until you move into your home. She's going to be that thread, the thread of continuity that brings you all the way through to make sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And so by the time we start construction, we have everything we need to streamline that construction and get it done as quickly as possible. So I think we can move on. Thanks, Michelle. Oh, and by the way, so as far as questions go, please feel free to, throw your questions in the chat, and Michelle is going to be looking at these and following along, and we'll have the Q&A at the end, and we'll get to everybody's questions. So again, I started out with working with fire survivors in 2018. I also spent about a decade working with victims of violent crime. So I became state certified in crisis intervention and trained in trauma-informed care. And so when I started working with the fire survivors in Santa Rosa, I recognized immediately that they were traumatized. And knowing how difficult it is to design and build a home. I mean, all my career, I've been a happy hire. Clients were excited to hire me. It's their 20-year dream to build their forever home. And it was exciting. And they've done 20 years of research and photos. And, but this was different. These folks did not want to be here. And so it's a very, very different process. And I realized that in order to make sure that, the process was fair to folks that had experienced such trauma, we had to streamline it. We had to make it easier to navigate in more digestible little bits. All of my fire survivor clients, they all say, Lori, the design process was a complete blur. They're like, we don't remember. And so what happens with survivors often is that's why unfortunately, they get taken advantage of, whether it's intentionally dishonest or just because people aren't thinking. There's a lot of things that fall through the cracks, and if you're not at the top of your game, you might miss a lot of stuff. So our process is designed to slow down step by step, make one decision, make another decision. You're always in control of the process, and it's much simpler. So that was basically my goal. Obviously, asking them what else they wanted. Well, we don't want to go through this again. We don't want a house that's going to burn down again. So that clearly was the top priority. And then there were other things too, like the net zero came out of that as well. We don't want to have our power cut off all the time. And so all Phoenix homes are net zero energy. They're all electric. Technically, they're not grid independent because by code, we're obligated to connect into the grid when grid is available. However, because we generate all the power we need on site and we have battery storage, you're never really sending it back to the grid. You're keeping it all stored on site. So building a Phoenix home, you're going to be able to avoid those new tariff regimes that were instituted last year. I mean, we can talk about that later some other time, but that's an important thing. So those were really the two most important things that fire survivors wanted, were a non-combustible home and a home that wouldn't be subject to power outages. And everything else is our innovations to streamline and make the process easier and faster. So we are the only home builder in the United States building wood-free type 1A non-combustible homes per code. I'm sure that all of you have heard from various people. Oh yeah, there's a lot of people doing that. There's a lot of people saying that they're doing that now. I mean, I'm sure you're hearing that because we're hearing that all the time. And that's not true. One, if somebody tells you that that's what they're doing, you need to ask them right off the bat, is it being permitted as a type 1A non-combustible structure? Because if it's not, then they're not doing what we're doing. Even if a home is made of insulated concrete forms or composite blocks or, you know, SIPS panels or something of that nature, it doesn't mean that it's type 1A. I love this slide. This graphic is I hope really easy to understand, and go ahead and zap that QR code because we have a great fact sheet. We also have a brochure that you can download as well that explains all of this in detail, depending on how much you want to nerd out and get into it, but the information is there for you. And so just about every single family home, as far as, you know, in my experience of almost 30 years, it's type 5. And if you look at this chart, so these are the 5 different types of construction that are in the International Building Code and the California Building Code. And what we do as architects is we determine what type of construction we're going to use based on the use of the building, the occupancy of the building, how many people that building is going to hold. So the code is designed to save lives. That is why the building code was created. It's not designed to save a structure. It doesn't care about the structure. All the building code cares about is getting people out safely in the event of a fire or other emergency. So when we have a building like a high rise or a multiplex cinema or a stadium, you know, a building that has a lot of people in it, or a hospital, you know, some building that needs to be, that has higher standards for safety. The building code requires that those buildings be type 1 or type 2, as you can see in the chart. So, you know, and then the rest of so type 1 and type 2 are the only non-combustible types in the whole in the whole building code. Everything else is combustible. And it's pretty tough to get type 1A. So, and nobody's ever really thought of it before. So even if you are building a home with ICF, it is still going to be type 5. And so, so just be careful of that. And, you know, I'll let people ask, you know, I'll answer more questions about this later as opposed to getting more in the weeds on this issue. So I'll let you guys kind of drive the discussion on that when we're done. So Michelle, if you want to advance.
And I just wanted to say, if we have anyone that needs to leave early, please go ahead and raise your hand and we can slip those questions in. I know that we've got at least one city staff member here.
Oh, okay, good point. Yeah, thanks. And because, as I was saying, the building code is really only concerned with getting people out safely, And it really, I mean, other than the WUI codes that were first introduced in 2011 in California, there's really no building code that addresses the integrity of the structure itself, protecting the structure itself. So what we've done at Phoenix is we've even gone beyond type 1A. So for instance, type 1A only requires exterior load-bearing walls to be 3 hours. Our walls are 4 hours. Like I was saying, we're 100% net zero energy. We have no roof vents. The only roof penetrations we have are for plumbing vents, and that is really minimal. I mean, 1 or 2 plumbing vents. We've designed the roof in such a way that the most vulnerable point of entry for fire embers is through those roof vents and eave vents. We've eliminated them, and there's nothing in the code that requires that. Our windows are non-combustible from the exterior. There is nothing that requires that in the code, even in WUI. So you can spend all this money to, harden your home and even have 4-hour fire-rated walls. And then if you put vinyl windows in, all of that literally goes out the window. So our windows are powder-coated aluminum clad Sierra Pacific windows, and the inner pane is tempered glass. So from the exterior, as long as your windows are closed before you evacuate, no embers will penetrate, and that window will withstand high heat temperatures and it won't combust. And our entire envelope is sealed and rated at R30 plus. That's also not required by the code. So that also helps with energy efficiency and believe it or not, fire prevention as well. So our biggest innovation, the challenge in getting wood out of residential construction really is the roof. We need sheathing in the roof to provide lateral stability. It's the thing that keeps the roof from kind of twisting during an earthquake. And there really isn't a feasible option, a feasible non-wood, non-combustible option for sheathing. There are options for it. However, it's expensive, it's very labor intensive, and it's just not feasible for a single family home or even small multifamily projects. It's really not feasible. So I designed a way to eliminate the sheathing in the roof with our patent pending Phoenix Longspan roof and floor framing system. So our Phoenix joists, our Longspan joists can span up to 32 feet. We space them up to 8 feet on center. It's a very simple assembly to install. And so using the Longspan system in combination with the 5-inch thick insulated steel panels that we use from all-weather insulated panel, that provides us with the lateral stability that we need. So we don't need sheathing. And no one else is doing this. We are the first ones to have pioneered this method. Like I said, we have a patent pending currently on it. And it works. And not only that, you can see in the photo there all the space in the roof. So because the insulation is in the roof panels, we don't need batt insulation. And that's all the framing we have. So when the trades come through with HVAC and plumbing and sprinklers and electrical, they have all the room in the world. And our joists have a lot of mechanical openings in them. So it's really easy for the trades to fit everything they want. They can work together. They aren't on top of each other, and they're not making a mess. And because we're able to, build a home at a reasonable cost that is non-combustible, at this point, it just makes sense. So already our homes were no more expensive than the old way of building, the wood way. Already we were right in the ballpark. But now what's going to happen with all of the methods that we need, everything that we need to do to harden a building, to basically make wood not be wood, all of that is going to start adding cost to those wood structures. So we're going to have an enormous advantage in that we're already starting with materials that don't burn. So all of that extra money we don't need to spend. And because our structure is already non-combustible. So I think we can move on. And again, we'll pick it up in the questions. So I don't want to go too deep into things, which of course I have a tendency to do. So I'd rather wait and hear your questions and answer your questions. And so where we really save time with our method is in, obviously you can see the roof there. That's huge. So we can frame our roof in one day, and then those panels go on in one day. So if you think what we're replacing is our trusses or rafters and all the roof framing, then you have to install plywood sheathing and nailing, and then you have to have an inspection, and then you have to put paper down and your shingles and your vents and your penetrations and your valleys and your flashings, and then you have to have bat insulation on the inside, which is another inspection. So when you think about that's at least 2 months worth of work that we take care of in 2 days. I mean, but expanding that, 1 week or so. And instead of the 4 inspections, well, the 2 inspections there in the chart refer to 1 inspection for the rebar in the wall, and then one inspection once the roof is complete. And again, I mean, once, we only need the 1 inspection because they see the roof framing connections and the way the roof is connected to the roof framing. They see it all at once. So it's just 1 inspection. The rough, as I was saying, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and the sprinklers, that of course goes a lot faster. Drywall is about the same. Stucco is another place where we save an enormous amount of time. We use an acrylic synthetic stucco system. It's a 2-coat process with, it's basically a fiberglass mesh that goes down right over the foam on the ICF, and then a finish coat. And so the cure time is much less. So, we say 1 to 2 weeks because of all this, there's scaffolding and prep and all kinds of processes, and then you have to clean up afterwards. But compare that to the paper and lath, which requires an inspection. I forgot to mention that. And then the 3-coat stucco, I mean, it's a lot longer. So just between the roof and the stucco, that saves months in our construction timeline. Finishes and cabinets and appliances, you would think why is it shorter with the Phoenix? Well, it's shorter because, trust me, in my almost 30 years of experience in residential architecture, design and construction, your project can be going along super great, super fine. You get rough inspection, you pass rough inspection, and then all of a sudden we start talking about finishes. Tile and flooring and countertops and cabinets and plumbing and light fixtures and doorknobs, and even clients that have been waiting to do this for 20 years are not prepared for that. And the vast majority of people out there don't want to pay full price, full services to have me or someone like Kendra, doing all these interior design services for them, because that can get really expensive. So what people tend to do is they just go shopping on their own, and they buy this and they buy that, and it's not coordinated, and the contractor's still waiting, and there's something's out of stock, or on back order, or it needs to be shipped in from Italy and we're not going to get it for 3 months, and on. There's all kinds of things that happen. And so what happens is the project comes to a screaming halt. I've seen it all the time, even when I'm trying to control things. And then contractors are aware of this as well. So they know that once we get to that point in the project, they're going to start scheduling other things. So that adds time to your project as well. If you have to keep telling a sub, oh, we're not ready for you. Oh, we're not ready for you. Well, at some point they're going to say, well, you know what? I'm going to go off and do this other job and I won't be able to come back for 2 months. And then you're really in trouble. So what we do is we make sure that all of those decisions are made before we even pull the permit. And Kendra will explain a little bit about our vision builder process and how we do that, because again, it's another streamlined process that's trauma informed. So it's not to overwhelm you, at least not overwhelming you like I'm doing right now. So, so Michelle, if you want to advance to the next slide, that would be great. And
Yes.
And so our team, even though our company is relatively new, we've been around for 5 years, and we're finishing up our third home, which is the rendering that you see in the middle there with all the rocks. It's on a lake just outside of Yosemite. And so people sometimes are like, oh, geez, well, you only have 3 homes and, you don't have a lot of clients and all this. Well, between all of us, we've got over 100 years of experience. And, I had my own solo architecture practice in San Diego for 20 plus years. And if you feel free to go to my architecture website. I'm not practicing anymore. I'm 100% with Phoenix now, but my website is still there. It's lcfarch.com. And on that website, you can see my entire portfolio. You can see a little bit about my background. I do have client testimonials. And by the way, we are working on putting together some client testimonials for you, some Phoenix folks, and also prior clients of ours prior to Phoenix. So what everybody needs to know is that, if we had been around for 20 years, we might not be in the situation that we're in right now. We're here because we saw a problem and I was determined to fix it. And it took us 5 years to get to where we are now. And I'm proud of the fact that we've built 3 homes in 5 years. We're ready to serve you. Also, our ABC7 did a story on our first Phoenix home in Santa Clarita. And so you'll be able to also see that on our website and on our YouTube channel. And so you can hear clients, those are our clients, they were our first clients. And here 4 years later, they're really happy to, they're proud of their home and happy about where it's gone. And but the other big thing, sorry, I rambled. The point of that past slide too was that our homes are all unique. They're all custom. It's all about you. We're not modular. We're not manufactured in any way. So each home is different. Oh, and here we go. Yes, we are an award-winning team. So yeah, this is basically what I was just saying. Cool. And I think some of the design aesthetic that you'll see with Phoenix is it is contemporary. If you really are hooked on, sort of a Spanish tile look or a craftsman, we might not be, or some of the Altadena, Jane's Cottage type Tudor styles, we might not be for you. However, we can do California mid-century modern all day long. We can do just about anything. We can do arches, we can do stone. It's just our roof is pretty contemporary looking, and we can do very, very low slope, and we can go up to 4 and 12, and we can do offset gables like you've seen in some of the designs. And if we go to the next slide, I want to see. Yeah, because at some point I want Kendra to jump in here. Michelle, where would be best for Kendra to jump in?
I think after the, well, I don't,
Right here.
yeah, I think right here. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Zoom
Again, I'm like,
lost my preview, and so I can't see what the next slide is anymore.
oh,
Oh, okay.
It
All right.
upgraded right. It updated right before I.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, Kendra, then, take it and maybe just tell the folks a little bit about your background too.
absolutely. Yes. So I come with just about 20 years of experience. I have been working, I started my own design work about 3 years ago before I joined with Lori. But I, prior to that, had 17 years in the commercial design world, which is very complementary to the work that we do because that is the construction methods and means that we use to build the types of buildings that I worked in previously. So I have a huge passion for this and a huge passion for making a difference. The designs and work that I do, that is my priority. My clients are my priority always. And so when we kick off our call, we're going to start with a 2-hour meeting. And well, you aren't here because you signed up because you wanted a new home, but we will start, and we will start by going through all of the things that you loved, all of the things that you loved about your home, all of the things that you want to capture, and that we want to make sure we bring into that next home of yours, the new home that we're going to design. And then this is where we have the opportunity, and you can go through Pinterest, you can send me images, we just talk about it, but to identify the things that maybe it was lacking or things that you wanted to improve upon. And if it was perfect the way it was, we can just recreate that. But usually there's something, there's maybe a little thing you're like, oh, this one thing could have been really nice, like, or maybe more natural light, or maybe just there's usually something we can improve upon. So that's where we can start to build hope, and we can start to get excited about a process that you really didn't sign up for. So after we have that 2-hour call, a Zoom call typically, we will then take that information, we will put together the design, we will put together what is a concept design, but it's a little bit further along than like an industry standard concept design. You're going to have a floor plan and you're going to have renderings of the interior exterior that is going to show you exactly what that home is going to look like. And that usually takes 2 to 4 weeks. And then we'll schedule a design call and we'll review that with you. And we can tweak that and we can have another design call after that. And then we get into preparing the construction documents. Once we get those done, we have our plan checker review them before we get them into permit. Then we get them into permit. While that is in permit, that is where I will jump back in and you will see me again. While we're doing the construction documents, you can take a break. You don't have to be involved because you'll have already made all the decisions that we worked together on. Then we will meet up and we will talk about all the materials and finishes that go into the interior of your home. And so Lori had mentioned we Vision Builder is included as part of the design process. So it's not an additional fee. And there's multiple different palettes, things to choose from, but to not overwhelm, because the design process can definitely be overwhelming when there's like an unlimited number of things to choose from. So there's plenty to select from, but I will walk you through that. It's very streamlined. And then you get to choose and pick all of the things that really fit the style of your home, your family, that we're going to design for you. So hopefully that's exciting and you guys really find that just very easy and palatable for the design process. And then we'll get the permit and we will start building your home.
Let's see if I could just talk about, yeah, the estimate. So a very, very important part of the Phoenix process is our cost estimate. One thing that I saw a lot in Santa Rosa was that, I mean, typically architects don't know how much things cost to build. Most architects, because most architects don't follow construction as closely as I did. I was always following construction. But even so, I had no control over the budget. I just had to listen to the contractor tell me, oh yeah, because I would check in, I'd be like, are you sure? Are you sure this is okay, that they want, all of this square footage and they want this and that? Oh yeah, it's fine, And then all of a sudden they pull the permit and they're like $400,000 over budget every single time. Or if I wasn't the architect, I was hearing stories all the time of, having to spend $120,000 on design fees. So that in the end, again, they're like $400,000 over budget, and you go to the architect and they're like, sorry, it's not cool. It's not professional, and we need to do better than that. So imperative in my solution for these fire rebuilds was to develop a way to give you guys control over budget, make it very transparent, but be able to make tweaks to it early enough in the design process so that you're not spending $100,000 on design fees, and then it's too late. Because once you get that permit, the home is designed. So if there's anything that you can do, I mean, there's always stuff we can do to bring costs down. There's always stuff that we can do. But we need to do it when it's much earlier in the design process to save you money. So you're not wasting money designing something that you can't afford, or just don't want to spend the money on. So the streamlined process that we've developed, in our CAD software, we use BIM, Building Information Management tools, and we have something we call the PHNX Cost Dashboard. And this shows us the cost of your project in real time as we're designing. So when we have that design kickoff meeting that Kendra was talking about, one of the things we talk about is your budget. And even, when we're getting close to signing the contract too, we're going to be asking you what that, rough budget number is. And then once we start hearing your wish list, we know enough to be able to say, your wish list is bigger than your budget, or, yeah, no, your budget's okay. We'll help tweak that budget so that it's reasonable, and then, so in the design kickoff, we decide on that number, or a path forward, because it could be, if your wish list is bigger than your budget, you've got two choices. Do you want us to design a home to your budget, or do you want us to design a home to your wish list? Or do you want a little bit of both? And I'll talk a little bit about our design fees too and how that's structured. But so as we go through that concept design process, if we see that what we're designing and what we're working on, it's getting a little, it's getting a little tight, I don't think we're going to make it, we stop and we let you know right away. And we say, hey, what do you want us to do? And so that's how, and again, it's an estimate, okay? We don't use the word guarantee in this business. There's no guarantees, especially with, I think everybody understands what's going on now. Things are extremely volatile and extremely unpredictable at the moment. And that's probably not going to get any better. So, so we need to be really careful about, really understanding that this is an estimate only. But what I can tell you is that we get closer to that actual build cost than anyone else can. And we do it earlier in the process where we have more control over the design. And so we can see where that's headed. So then about the design fees and the way it's structured, the concept phase, phase one, It's hourly, and our hourly fee is $225 an hour, and we require a 15-hour deposit of $33.75. And so depending on how quickly the process goes, depending on the scope of your project, you know, is it a smaller house, is it a larger house, we expect that total fee to be in the range of $9,000 to $15,000 and about 6 to 8 weeks. And so at the end of that process, you will have, like Kendra said, a comprehensive set of concept drawings, a 3D rendering inside and out of your building. And we can actually do live walkthroughs of that model during our Zoom meetings. So you have a really, really good idea of what your home is going to look like. There's no surprises. And you get that Phoenix cost estimate. So you get this package where you have the tools, you have everything that you need to make that decision if you want to go forward. And so we give you that, you take your time, you digest it, and then you decide, yes, I want to take the next step, or no, I don't. And so the next step is the construction documents and the permitting. And that, depending on the size of your project, is between $35,000 and $45,000. That is a fixed fee. So it's not dependent on how much time we spend. It's just a flat fee, and it's 50% upfront and 50% before we submit. And then there's like a $2,500 or $3,000 fee once we pull the permit. So it's a very simple, and so to start CDs, construction documents, we wait for your approval. And then, like Kendra said, you're off, you're done for a while. So you're off doing everything else you need to be taken care of. We're getting your construction documents ready. We're getting it into the jurisdiction for plan review. And then we come back, and Kendra will use our Vision Builder tool with you to very easily, very streamlined, lay out your interiors, your finishes. It's very versatile. We found this system that it's easy to navigate while still giving you a lot of choice. You know, it's designed to help you feel like you're designing your own interiors. It's kind of like a self-guided methodology. And this is all included. And so the finishes that we have in Vision Builder, these are all finishes that are standard and included. So there's no markups because you want just a nice floor. All of our finishes are great. So, you know, they're very high quality. And so that's what goes in your home. And so that's all taken care of during the permitting process, the CDs and permitting. And so then once we have all of your specifications, we also have someone that will help you select plumbing fixtures and appliances and things like that. Carla will also be helping you with that too. So that by the time we pull that permit and we're ready to build, we've got everything dialed in. And so we pull that permit, we give you a contract, and then you get to make that next decision as well as to if you want to move forward. I mean, by this time, hopefully, you know, we've done all the legwork, and we've been, you know, guiding you all the way along. And so, so hopefully we'll be ready to dive into construction right away. And I think the previous slide mentioned too, we do help you navigate insurance. We have experience talking to insurance companies. We understand actual cost value versus replacement cost value, the code upgrades and all that stuff. So we can help you get as much money as we possibly can out of your claim. And we're not going to take a cut, you know. So, you know, we would never do that. So anyways, so that's part of the process. And again, I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions, and so we can take those afterwards. And comparing to the traditional design process, like I was saying, you know, you're not going to have any reasonable realistic cost estimate before you pull that permit and you start getting quotes. That, I mean, I'm sure maybe there might be a rare few out there that will do that for you, but the vast majority, especially if you're just going to go and hire an architect, it's pretty rare that that architect will be able to give you an accurate budget as early as we can. And then the permitting is going to take longer and the construction will take longer as well. And this is something that I think is really important for people to understand. We get so many questions so many times, just how much is it going to cost? How much, why can't you just give me a per square foot cost? Why is it so hard to set to nail down how much something is going to cost? Well, there's several reasons. The first one is that it doesn't exist yet. It doesn't even exist in me and Kendra's brains. It doesn't exist anywhere. So putting a price on something that doesn't exist yet is impossible. It's also not going to be built right away. So, our Phoenix cost estimate that we give you during the concept design process is really pretty accurate if you were to start construction right then. It's basically what we would write the contract for if we were starting to build right now at that moment. But clearly, we're not going to build at that moment. And when I've got folks, survivors, shopping around and trying to make decisions and decide what they're going to do. So before you're even signed up and you're asking us, how much is my home going to cost? We can't tell you that. And I know that that's really hard to take, but we just can't. Another issue is, there's over 100 people that are going to touch your project at any one given point during the entire process. And all of those people need to do what they say they're going to do, when they say they're going to do it, and for the price that they say they're going to do it for. That's a lot. So that's a lot of coordination. And, the more people that you add to a process, I mean, if I alone could do everything from designing the home to hammering and drilling and pouring concrete and all that, if I could somehow magically do all of that myself, I could probably more easily give you a price. But clearly that's not realistic. So, when the more people that you involve in any process, the more that unpredictability becomes an issue. And so the reason that we can limit that unpredictability is because we build our homes the same way every single time. Our materials, our homes are not the same. They're all different. They're all unique. But the materials and methods that we use to build the home are standardized, and we build them the same way every single time. The details are the same. The products are the same. The vendors are the same. So because we do it that way, it's not only streamlines it and makes it shorter, but it also gives us more control over the whole process. So it eliminates a lot of the unpredictability. So that's what enables us also to give you a price earlier on. And one thing that I would like to mention too is about square footage, just in general. So square footage is really hard to pin down. For one thing, people have different rules about what constitutes square footage. There's something that I call Zillow square footage. A lot of you have come to us and said, oh yeah, my home was 1,800 square feet. I had 5 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms and blah, blah. And I'm like, whoa, wait. I'm like, how could you have an 1,800 square foot home and all that stuff in it? And, and I start asking more questions and, oh, that doesn't include the 3-car garage. Oh, that doesn't include a covered patio. Maybe it doesn't include the mechanical room or the laundry room or the hallways or, so that Zillow square footage varies, and it's usually measurements taken from the inside of the home and it's usually just square footage of the principal rooms. Whereas when we're building a home, we need to take everything from the exterior face of wall. So, you know, that garage isn't free. And in fact, a garage is one of the most expensive rooms in the house. The covered patios aren't free. The decks aren't free. Decks are extremely expensive. Railings are expensive. The waterproofing on a deck is expensive. So, you know, what we do is we want to first make sure that we're comparing apples to apples. So when you tell us my previous home was 1,800 square feet, does that include the garage? Did you have decks? Did you have covered patios? Things like that. So if we are to throw out a $400 a square foot number, we want to make sure that you're applying that $400 a square foot number to the actual built square footage. You know, so because your 1,800 square foot home could all of a sudden very easily be more of a 2,800 square foot home. And so if you're applying that $400 a foot number, obviously that's going to change your budget, right? So that's why I really tend to shy away from square foot numbers. And the cost estimator on our website is a pretty good tool. But just be aware it's very rough and it's definitely on the conservative side. We did that on purpose. And if you are a little shocked by those numbers, please know that it's no different than real numbers on a wood home. And if somebody's telling you otherwise, you really, you know, basically the average home, I think we had it on a slide previously, a recent study, this was before the fires too. The average home in California to build, new home build, the average cost is $1.2 to $1.3 million. And that's statewide, that's any home. So that's your 1,800 square foot home or all the way up to your 20,000 square foot home. So they averaged all of that out. But your average home in California is in the 1.2, 1.3 range. And I'm telling you, with the fires and what we're coming up now, that's probably going to go up. So, so just know that our costs are really right there in line with any other construction process or method. And there. Oh, and so maybe we already did kind of go through this.
Yeah, sorry.
So Kendra, yeah, if you want to talk a little bit more.
And we did cover this, but yes.
I'm so sorry.
No, this is okay. So this is kind of a sampling, some of the renderings that you see here and the section through the building are some of the things that you will get to see for your home.
Yeah, we can just burn through this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, yeah, so this is, you know, this is what you're getting for, you know, that initial concept design phase for that $9,000 to $15,000. And I know that for a lot of you, that's a lot of money. And I totally understand that. It's just, we're in a different world. And in my world, in Kendra's world, this is a relatively smaller amount of money to get this level of design and this level of detail in your project.
And that's why I even start by saying, when, you know, calling it concept design. Concept design in previous types of work is much less detailed. I mean, it might be like just some preliminary floor plans. So this really gives you a very clear picture initially of what that home could look like. So very detailed.
And yeah, oh, this is great. So this is our Yosemite project. It's on Pine Mountain Lake, about 20 minutes outside of Yosemite National Park. And that picture in the middle is a picture that was taken last week. And it was taken by our stucco guy, so I don't think his camera is very good. It's a little washed out. But look at the resemblance, those renderings. So the other 4 photos are renderings. And these are renderings that were done during the design process. Okay, so you can see how accurate those renderings are compared to the real product. There's literally no surprises. When we build this model for you, we're walking through it, we're showing you the bathrooms, the laundry room, the bedrooms, everything. And there you can see some of the nice design features too. Oh, and yes, and so Sarah added this slide too, which is really great. So these are some of my previous projects in private practice prior to Phoenix. And so what we wanted to show you here, so on the right there are some renderings, the top two there, and then the bottom one with the pretty patio. Those are all renderings. And oh, she didn't show the real, oh, okay. But they're renderings that show a very real space. One thing that I like about the photo up in the upper left-hand corner, even though that's a pre-Phoenix project, it's a wood project, it's an offset gable. And the offset gable is something that Phoenix does really well. And it's a very traditional mid-century California vernacular that I think all of us are very familiar with. But these are some of my projects in the past.
And again, just more images to go along with what Kendra already talked about with Vision Builder.
Yeah, and so Vision Builder, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but because I know we're running out of time. But you know, there's 5 color groups, there's 4 styles, and everything is color coordinated. So you can't make a wrong turn. And it's very versatile, and we have tons and tons and tons of choices, but they're easy choices to make. So
I think you talked about this extensively during the
yeah,
process. Yeah. Okay, so I can move on from that.
And here's really just the best, most exciting news. So in November, we announced our alliance with Phoenix and Mercury Insurance. So Mercury understood the value of Type 1A non-combustible construction. It didn't take them long to figure it out. And so they wrote their first policy for a Phoenix home for Phoenix One, our first Phoenix clients in Santa Clarita. And they lost their home in the tick fire. So when they went to get insurance after building their Phoenix home, it was a 10-second no because of their address. No, even Mercury said no. So they had the FAIR plan and a wraparound plan. Mercury wrote them a new policy in November. They not only cut their premium almost in half, but it's a better policy, it's a comprehensive policy, and they're actually paying less than they were before the fire. And so Mercury has allied with us, so they understand what it takes, you know, why it's such a benefit to them to insure Phoenix homes. So we are pre-qualified essentially to re-up with insurance with Mercury. And we're pretty confident too that once word gets out, you know, once we get a few, we're breaking ground on a few Camarillo homes this fall from the mountain fire. And we're pretty confident that once word gets out to the other insurance companies what Mercury is doing, I think they'll follow suit. And so, you know, you might be asking, well, geez, you know, you guys must be super busy. And how are you going to take care of us? How are you going to handle all of these homes? And you're right, we're super busy. And as you can see, you know, with this presentation, this is only our second webinar. And It's a little squeaky, but you know, we're getting there. But here's the thing. We are prepared. We are ramping up. We are hiring people as we speak. We have contractors calling us, contacting us every week that want to build with us from all over the state. And we are in discussions with construction logistics people on, you know, how do we organize, you know, building in groups, you know, and we're working, we look forward to working with community groups as well. We've already been talking to some community groups in Altadena about, you know, possibly bringing on board people in groups so that we can be more efficient when we're building these homes. And the other thing that's really unique to us is that we aren't pulling from the same labor pool. I'm sure we're going to be having drywall and cabinets and, you know, obviously a lot of the same stuff that a home has, any other home has. But when it comes to the actual structure of the home, we're using a different labor pool. So because we're concrete and steel, our contractors are mainly, frankly, commercial contractors. We don't have a lot of residential contractors that are actually building our homes. So the benefit to that is there's more availability of that labor. There will be less poaching. We're not going to have any poaching from site to site like there was in other fire rebuilds. And, you know, commercial contractors are much more used to schedules and budgets and timelines and things like that. So we're going to have a really tight team of contractors that sees construction from a different point of view.
Can I jump in real quick and say,
sure.
like,
Yeah,
with my experience too, having gone from the commercial world to the residential, that is something that is invaluable. There's a level of, I hate to say it, and this isn't all residential, but there's a level of professionalism that comes along with commercial contractors that the organization, the structure, all of that, which Lori was mentioning, is invaluable to a successful project.
yeah, and again, like, to reiterate what Kendra said, it's not about knocking residential contractors out. It's just the process of building a custom home is much different. It's much different than a commercial project. And you know, it's a different type of project, it's a different type of client. And so that whole world of residential construction just goes by different rules. It goes by different rules than commercial construction does. So we're basically borrowing from the commercial construction industry because both Kendra and I have experience in commercial construction, and we see those efficiencies and we see how quickly and efficiently we can build buildings in commercial, on the commercial side of things. So we've taken all of that good stuff and brought it over to residential. And then we have one-on-one relationships with our vendors. So, and vendors isn't even really the right word because we're dealing directly with the manufacturer. So our ICF is Fox Blocks. We buy it directly from Fox Blocks. Concrete, obviously, we're going to be buying directly from the concrete plants. They might even be building, you know, pop-up plants. You know, if we have enough homes being built in one area, there might be new plants that will pop up. All-weather insulated panels, our roof panels, are manufactured in Vacaville. Our windows, Sierra Pacific windows, are manufactured in Reading. Our stair system, View Rail, stairs and railings, that's manufactured in Indiana. So our steel is custom fabricated here in San Diego. So, you know, we get all this stuff directly from the manufacturer. We don't even have third-party vendors, sales reps in the middle. It's directly from the manufacturer. So we control the supply chain a lot better than your average construction team will. And we manage our own pipeline. You know, so like, for instance, right now, if you sign up to design with us right now, I mean, other than the people we've already talked to, like, we're going to sign you up this week. you're probably not going to break ground this year. And that's not because of Phoenix. That's just the way things are. There's just time that it takes from the time we start to the time we break ground. So, you know, if you were to sign up with us in the next month or two, you're going to be breaking ground next year about this time, probably. Realistically, I mean, I'm like, you know, but but since we're designing the projects, we have much more foresight into what's coming up down the pike. You know, so we're like, okay, we've got these homes over here, so we're going to start them over here. And we can organize it a lot better because we have more foresight. So so there's that too. So.
And we have a question in the chat from Amy, and she's just confirming. So your clients sign one contract with Phoenix only, and you take care of everything. So that's true, except in the case of landscaping, correct? Should we make that point? I know that's usually separate anyway, but.
Yes and no. I wanted to clarify some things. So in the sense that we are the one-stop shop, yes, we design and build your home, and we take care of the permitting and the interior design. So yes, we're a one-stop shop. However, we do have multiple contracts because again, we're not asking you to make this huge commitment all at once. So there's basically 3 different contracts you're going to sign. The first one is the hourly concept design contract. The second one is the fixed fee construction documents and permitting contract. And the third one is the construction contract. So at no point are you committing to, from day one, to build that home. All along the way, you're making the decision, you are in control of if you're going to go to the next phase. Okay. So do we have questions, Michelle?
I'm just seeing the one from Amy. Are there any other questions?
Oh, wow. Okay.
We ran a little bit over on time, so I think some folks had to leave.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for your time. And, you know, we're going to have this as a recording on our YouTube channel. And so, you know, it's going to be archived. Also, you can watch the first one that we put on
Questions
2 weeks ago. Oh, here, is there another one there?
Yes. Once you break ground, about how long will it take to construct around 2,000 square feet?
We're hoping to hit around between 8 and 10 months. Our third home, the one in Yosemite, we broke ground on that one last year in May, and you saw where we're at. And that's, I mean, I say we broke ground, but we didn't come out of the ground until probably July because that site is really, really difficult and there's a lot of rock and this wasn't a fire rebuild, by the way. That was that's a custom home. So, you know, it was a completely undeveloped lot. We had to do a lot of site work before we even came out of the ground. So to say that, you know, we're 10 months in at this point and we're almost done, even with all of that site work that we had to do. And it's very remote. Everybody who works there needs to come up the hill for 2.5 hours. I mean, there's a lot of challenges on that project, and we're still going to be able to get it done in 11 months. And I'm really proud of that. So I'm very optimistic that once we get onto these sites where we're building multiple homes at the same time, we're permitting through the same jurisdiction, you know, and we're working on lots that have already been developed. There's already a pad. There's already utilities. There's already a curb cut and a driveway. So all of these things make me very optimistic that we can build these homes in less than 11 months. And with every home, we're going to get faster. So is that about it? Well, thank you, Amy. And oh, okay. So the Phoenix long span system is my design. I understood that the insulated roof panels from all-weather insulated panels, they're 5 inches of rigid foam and 22 gauge steel on both sides. They come together, they basically snap together and are sealed to form a standing seam metal roof. And after working with these panels, I understood very quickly that they have a lot of inherent strength in just the structure of the panel. And I've got this great video here that I like to show. So let me, so our first home, I'll show that video in a sec. Our first 2 homes, I used someone else's proprietary system, proprietary products. We were using iSpan at first. iSpan is a light gauge steel joist, and we weren't getting the strength out of it that we needed to use it in the way that I wanted to use it. And so I knew that I had to design my own system in order to make this work the way we wanted it to work. So so we got to work, we designed so basically the long span system has 4 components to it. There's the Phoenix joist, which is the big member that you saw with the big holes in it. That is 16 inches deep. It's always the same. The only thing that changes per project is the length. There's the Phoenix brace, which is basically an L metal with we've designed the fixation points at the end. And so the brace again is always the same. The only thing that changes is the length. And then we have what are called knife plates that get embedded into the concrete wall before we pour the concrete. We have a plate that the Phoenix long span joist attaches to, and we have a plate that the Phoenix brace attaches to. So we have those 4 components, and they're in every single Phoenix, and that's all we need to frame the roof and the floor. And so we set those knife plates in the foam, we tape them in place, we pour the concrete, and then when we install the framing, it's a crane, and we crane down the Phoenix joist and we bolt everything in place, and it's done. And we use the same system for the floor. We top it with a Formlock deck and about 3.5 inches of 3,000 PSI lightweight concrete. Does that answer your question? And we do have a patent pending. We expect to secure the patent hopefully by the end of the year. So hopefully that answers your question, Amy. Okay, great. Super. So I think that's it, huh? I don't know if we even have anybody left.
Amy, if you have any other questions, feel free to come off mute.
I think she might have left. Or no, she is still here. Okay. Well, I think we're gonna go.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming today. And we're going to be doing these every other week for the foreseeable future. And but feel free to send us an email at info@phnxdevelopment.com and just let us know. We'll be happy to help you with your rebuild.